Hi, Robert. It's so nice to be back with you in our little interview setting. And I'm just going to have you introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, Robert Guest. I'm a partner at Guest and Gray. Our main office is in Forney. I am the chief of the criminal section, and I also help out with like IT and HR and I wear a bunch of hats, but I do a very little bit of family law and a whole lot of criminal law, and then some law firm partnering.
So I do have a few questions for you today if you'd like to answer them. And our first one is how felony cases work in the Kaufman court specifically, because we know that you are out of Kaufman County and that's the jurisdiction that y'all's law firm runs through. So how do felony cases work in Kaufman
All
County?
right, it's a good question. So Kaufman County is the county directly east of Dallas County. And so it's gotten bigger, but it's still just a courthouse. And felony cases, they're heard in all five. There's three district courts and two county courts that'll hear like felony DWIs and stuff. But felony cases start with somebody getting arrested. There's kind of two ways to get arrested. The police either see you do the thing that's illegal. We call that like an on view arrest, like, look, a crime, and they go get you, or they go get a warrant. They like solve the crime, and then they go get a warrant from a judge. And so once that happens, you get arrested, you go to jail. Kaufman has a very kind of specific jail procedure for felonies. None of the local jails like Forney or Terrell will make felony bails. So you got to go to Kaufman. They set bail between 8 and 10, which means if you are turning yourself in on open warrant, you got to get there like at 4 in the morning, or you might have to stay another day. So you've got getting arrested, going to jail, then they set your bond, then you want to bond out. And then once you bond out, the case kind of takes the next step where lawyers can start doing more lawyerly stuff, because up until then, like you can't litigate arrests or
Right.
warrants. I can't go into the side of the road and go, no, you may not arrest my client, good sir. That would just laugh me or arrest me or something. It would be bad. So we got to wait. So that's when the lawyers get involved after the arrest is over, usually. So
After an arrest, typically, how long is it before this case will go to court?
man, that depends. There's going to be a lot of that. It depends. Anything with forensics, which can be like, running a cell phone, computer forensics, or they got to test your blood for DWI, that's forensic, or there's DNA samples, that's forensic. That takes as long as the labs take. And so, I mean, we have stuff where they'll send it off for labs, like 6 months, it'll come back. I mean, during COVID, stuff was like a year or more out. And
Oh,
so until that comes back, a lot of cases can't start because that's like is the evidence like in a DWI, that's like the main thing. And so it just depends on that. Some of the faster cases to start for felonies are like you get in a fight, that or you have too many theft charges, like they can enhance to a felony. So those can be as fast as like, 2 or 3 months, and they get indicted, which is how a felony case starts, by indictment. I mean, I've had cases where they didn't get indicted for like 18 months to 2 years, and we thought, man, I guess they forgot about it. And anywhere from 2 to 3 months to 1.5 to 2 years is how long it can take. It depends. See,
yes. With the court specifically, what kinds of courts are there in Forney, Texas?
Forney only has little ticket courts. So we've got JP2, which is Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, and they do small claims, evictions, and your Class C misdemeanors. So like speeding, little bitty shoplifting cases. And then there's Forney Municipal Court, and that court does tickets that are in the city limits of Forney. So all the same stuff JP2 does, but in the city limits. And
Right.
so most people are surprised to learn they don't live in Forney, because the city of Forney area proper isn't actually that big. They live like outside of the city limits. And so then you go to
Mhm.
JP2. Those courts, though, they're different. The JP court is the DA's office, the district attorney of Kaufman County. They're the prosecutors. Whereas the city of Forney Municipal Court, they have the city attorney that does it. So you're dealing with different people, and then they have different timelines. Some courts are faster, some are slower, some kind of cases are faster, but lots of tickets, heavy volume, way
Yes.
different than felony court, big time.
So with them, some taking longer than others, why do criminal cases take so long in Kaufman?
Okay, I'll do Kaufman County specifically, and then I'll
Okay.
do like cases in general. We talked about one already, which is forensic labs, you're
Yes.
just, unless your case is super high priority, it can just wait in line for people to get to it. Like we got to test that the drugs are drugs and it's sitting in line with a bunch of drugs. And so who's going to get to the drugs? But if it's just a rinky-dink drug case, it's going to take as long as it takes. That's like a big waiting time for a lot of cases as forensic evidence. But I talked about that. Another one is whose desk it lands on. Who's your prosecutor? So after you get arrested, your case will get sent to the DA's office. It goes into what we call intake, which means it's been scanned in their system. Someone has it, and you can possibly talk to somebody about it who's a lawyer, potentially.
Yes.
Different lawyers work faster or slower than others. And so some have more serious cases that take longer. Some have simpler cases that can go a little faster. Once we get to the DA's office is when we can really start doing some lawyer stuff. Now, we had a couple things that really messed everything up for a while. The computer systems at the courthouse got hacked and like nothing worked. It was nuts. And like we couldn't call the DA's office for a while because their phones were hacked. We're like, this is bizarre. And so that was last year. That was to set everything back. And then a bunch of misdemeanor prosecutors kept kind of leaving. And so my misdemeanor cases got all messed up and took forever. I've had stuff I've never had before. Like I had a misdemeanor case that lasted 2 years and had 5 different prosecutors on it. And so whenever you get a new prosecutor, they gotta go read the file and go, what's this about? And then, but they have 500 new cases or whatever, so they're not going to get to it very soon unless it's set for
Right.
trial. So who's on the other side is a big deal and how long it takes. The other one is kind of talk about which court you're in. So
Yes.
like the 86 has a scheduling order, which like as soon as you show up, they give you a trial date, which you usually don't go on the first trial date, but like it exists. The other courts will give you so many, just kind of show up and reset the court case dates before they make you set it for trial. And so your court and your judge can play a big role in that. So those are the major reasons cases take a long time. But I tell people all the time, old cases are generally better for the defense. Like I was a prosecutor once and the first case I lost, it was to a prepaid legal guy, like prepaid legal services. You pay like 50 bucks a month and you get a lawyer. And so I had a case. I was like, I'm going to win this case. I'm so smart. And it was like 90 miles an hour and at 55, but it was like 2 years old. And this is before cars had videos in them. Put the cop on the stand. I was like, hey, man, did you write this ticket? And he's like, oh, yeah. I was like, is that your signature? I'm like, oh, yeah. So tell us how you pulled this driver over for going so fast on our roads. And he's like, man, I don't remember anything. I'm like, oh, no, this is bad. And so he just forgot. So now, we have body cams and dash cams. So that's different. But it's just one example of, I tell my clients, man, the older this gets, the more things that can kind of go wrong with it. I'll do one more story. So I had a case, it's a pretty decent felony case, and we were set for trial. And I was like, ooh, man, this is gonna be rough. So what are we gonna do? And I show up, and the DA is like, here's what we're gonna do. This is the greatest offer ever, but you have to take it like right now. I'm like, that's weird. What happened? You're so adamant earlier. And he's like, well, the arresting officer just got arrested for this really bad thing. So this case kind of has to go away. And I was like, oh. And so, you can get better results by doing really great legal work and like lawyering your way through it. And then sometimes something good just happens because you waited a long time. And
Right.
you can never tell, right? But the longer you give it, the more, kind of chances you have for some kind of lottery ticket thing to fall on you and bestow you a good result. But cases take a long time also because there's so much discovery now. So when I started, like half my cases had no video, at least nothing. It was just
Right.
like 5 pieces of paper and you read it. You're like, huh, wonder if we did it. I don't know who was there. And so that was usual. And they were on VHS, which, was like a giant cassette tape. And so you had to go
Right.
drop off a cassette tape to the DA's office and then give you them back one at a time with your videos on it. And well, now everyone's wearing a body cam. And so there's like 4 hours of freaking cop video of every arrest from every angle, and you have to sit there and watch it. And then there's the in-car video, and then now we're at the police station video. And so every case is now like a 6-hour movie about one arrest, and you're like, oh my gosh. And so that's changed just to process it.
Yeah.
Cell phones, oh my God. So your cell phone, you know how much storage you buy in your cell phone? Like I got 256 or 512 gigs or whatever. Well,
Mhm.
you fill it up with crap. And then when you get arrested and they download it, we have to look at all the crap and go, what does this mean? What does this all say? And so, oh, it takes forever. So usually hire a guy to do it, like an expert, unless you can do it yourself. Celebrate something they use, stuff like that. But those are the main reasons that I can at least think of right now as to why cases take so long.
Right. I do have a question kind of following this up. So in the past, say, how long have you been working in the law area?
In the law area,
Yes.
I got licensed on May the 5th, 2003, and
Okay.
so a
So
long time.
since you started, let's just say in the past 10 years, give it a little 10-year window, do you think that the idea of surveillance or the presence of surveillance in today's world has changed how cases are presented?
Oh
And I know you
man,
kind of did answer that, but I am a
um,
little bit more curious about that.
like unequivocally yes. So the thing, I'll give you one recent example. So just go after you're done watching this, interview. Go Google like local flock cameras, flock FLOCK,
Hmm.
and they put up surveillance cameras all over traffic lights all over the country. Like Forney has like 50 of them or something. And they read license plates, but they're super high def. They can see you, they can see where you're going, they can see what you're doing. They'll use this to like follow cars from crime scenes or track license plates or make a trail of your day. It's something that people may not really know about. Like what they're thinking about is like ring cameras, right? They're like, okay, this case is gonna have a doorbell camera and like the scene from the other camera at the house. But I don't think they realize when they get in the car, they're being followed like from their garage to their work and back, and the police
Right.
can access all of that. And license plates readers were kind of an older version of that. Well, now they've just got full video on your traffic light poles. So just look up your flock map in your area and
That's
see how
so
many you
insane.
have, and then you're gonna freak out.
With these flock maps, I assume it's crazier for bigger cities like Dallas, although Forney has been growing a lot recently, which we know. But speaking of the courts, what is the difference between Kaufman County and Dallas County?
To go to Dallas a lot early on in my career. Now one of my other lawyers goes, but the simplest explanation is if you play video games, it's like Kaufman County's like expert mode, and Dallas is like the one you let your kids on like easy mode where they can't die or anything, and you just run around and you're fine. So Dallas is kind of like that. You could just get a lot of chances to win, right? And the juries are more sympathetic. The judges are more inclined to listen to defense arguments. They're more like inclined to go for like rehabilitation of a person over like just throwing them in prison. And they also have so much volume. It's just hard for a system to keep up with that much volume. I mean, I remember one problem they have was part of your case can be like how many convictions you have, and then sometime in the 90s, someone decided we should just destroy all these criminal records from these little cases, and they did. And so we had a bunch of clients who they couldn't file enhancements on because they had like destroyed all their own records
Oh my
because
gosh.
it just the volume of it, I guess they didn't want it anymore. But stuff like that happens out there. But the prosecutors switch courts a lot. And so if you don't like your prosecutor, you can kind of wait, 6 months, and maybe someone new shows up. You can reset cases forever. Your client doesn't have to show up all the time like they do in Kaufman, which they hate, by the way, because a lot of them don't live around here. And
Yeah.
Kaufman's not the big city in the county, it's actually Forney. So it's generally considered easier on defendants. Like if I had to go on trial for a crime, I would probably want to do it in Dallas, maybe, right? Because it's better jurors usually. Now, Forney, as I've been here, has changed a lot. The demographics have changed. We've really had a lot of changes in like who our jurors are too. And
Hmm.
so we've got kind of a really much more diverse mix of people who are on your jury panel. So you just got to see kind of who shows up that day, who wants to be on jury duty. And you can, ask them kind of what their views are and stuff a little bit. But, generally, I think any defense lawyer who goes to both counties would tell you Kaufman is a lot harder on defendants than on defense lawyers. It's a lot more, you got to show up and be here like on time, right? And
Yes.
and the juries and judges are really tough on sentencing, and our bonds are way higher out here. They're nuts. Generally, stuff like that. There's a saying somebody told me, and it says, when you cross the line into Kaufman County, you go back in time 50 years. There's something that's they're talking about kind of the this the nature of the criminal justice system. And so, but I've been in both. I've been in Kaufman way more. It is an advantage, even just to do probation if you live in Dallas County is easier because they just have thousands of people. So unless you're like the worst scumbag on earth, they don't have a lot of time for you.
So, with you saying that quote of people going back 50 years once they step into
Oh
Kaufman,
yeah.
do you feel like it's changed at all in your time that you've been in law? Or
Yeah,
do you think
it's
it's mostly stayed the same?
um criminal justice is driven a lot by of different players in the system, and a lot of them are elected. So you've
Hmm.
got the DA who's elected, and our current DA, is I call her Judge Wiley because she was the judge when I came here. She was my judge actually for my court. She's been the DA for a long time, and she kind of sets the tone by who she hires, like her first assistant. And so they have different priorities than like former DAs have. And so we've had DAs who just wanted to throw everyone in prison. I actually worked for one. So that was nuts. It was a wild time back then. It was like 2005, I think, when I was out here. And I was like, man, these guys are serious about throwing people in jail all the time. It was a different scene. And so now there's way more programs, though, that just didn't exist when I started. So, like, when I first started, we had a lot of veterans and they had like PTSD and trauma from
Hmm.
going to war. It was, Afghanistan, Iraq, those things. And we just put him in jail. I mean, that was just what you did. I had a DA once tell me, he's like, real soldiers don't get arrested. And I was like, man, that's really harsh. That's
Yeah.
really harsh. And but he was a DA. And I remember I was asking for a continuance so my guy could like go to training or go to run some exercise or some drill or something
Hmm.
for the military. And so I just was blown away by that because he was in the military. I was like, come on, man. Well, now it's different. We have Veterans Court, which is a great rehabilitative program. It's really good. It changes lives. It's pretty intense, but they want you to win. They want you to succeed. They're real supportive. That didn't exist when I started. Mental health court didn't exist when I started. If you were mentally ill, we just put you in jail forever. That was it. And now they have other options where they try to make you, stay compliant on your meds, give you some support systems. And we have, drug court, which is what it sounds like. We have DWI court. And so when I started, all those courts were just jail and they didn't
Yes.
exist. So it was like, well, how do we fix this person? Jail. Jail's going to fix everybody. Well, fixes some people. But if you're mentally ill and you go to jail, you come out, you're still mentally ill. If you have a traumatic brain injury and go to jail, when you get out, you still have a traumatic brain injury. Those are positive changes. I don't want to get into too much on discovery, but when the world discovered DNA testing, Texas figured out we had a bunch of innocent people in prison and on death row, and it was nuts. And I remember I did some time on the state bar board of directors, and we'd always try to talk about ethics and what are the big concerns. And they were really concerned about like lawyers, contracts, and how we build clients. And I'm going, there's innocent people in prison. Like that should be a big issue for us. Like we should really be
Yes.
worried about that, right? Because one of the charges of the state bar is to protect the public. I'm like, doesn't that, do that? So then there was a guy, Michael Morton, and he was in jail and he was innocent, and a really horrible district attorney and a really horrible judge kept him there. It was so nuts. They like covered up some evidence that couldn't be DNA tested. I think it was like a sock or a bandana or something. So the guy's innocent. He's sitting in jail for like the murder of his wife. And then they go, maybe we should change the rules about
Yes.
discovery, which is evidence. Like maybe we should always give the defense the evidence, which was like this breakthrough because most of the counties I practice in would give you the evidence. You had to ask for it in certain ways or have a hearing or blah, blah, blah. But Ellis County, which you're probably familiar with, was a closed
Hmm.
file county. So if you asked for discovery, they wouldn't give you a plea offer. Like, well, you got to go to trial. And I go, well, I need to see the reports. And they would always say this, well, ask your client what happened. They were there. And I'm like, do you like saying that? And so it was the way it was. And there was nothing we could do. Not ideal, but that's a great way to convict innocent people is don't give them any evidence. That kind of put an end to that, hopefully, made it harder to convict innocent people at
Yeah.
least. That's a big change, 3914 is what we call it. That's the discovery rule. So
That is awesome. I didn't know that.
that's why I'm
I just
here.
thought, yes, I'm learning a lot. Those are all the questions that I have today for you, but I would love to redo this and maybe start a podcast because this is so interesting to me.
We could do this. Olivia learns the law.
Thank you so much for answering my questions today. I believe that is all that I have. Again, I would love to do this again. This was very interesting. I learned a lot. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
Oh no, that was great. I just tell people, if the police try to talk to you, don't do it. Call you a lawyer. Just don't go. It's a trap. It's a setup. This is probably the best interview I've had. I think you're probably the best interview I've seen.
Oh my
So
gosh, thank you.
I look forward to doing this again. So
Yes. All right. Thank you guys. So I'm just gonna wave bye
bye, audience. Massive
and then
audience.